Tae Yang had made many mistakes in his career as a merchant captain, but landing at Helix 9 Station during the Apex tournament might have been his biggest one yet. He stood in the loading dock staring at his datapad with growing confusion. The station map showed his supply delivery point was somewhere past the central arena, but every corridor seemed to lead to crowds of massive alien warriors. His ship, the Morning Star, carried simple cargo, medical supplies, food processors, and repair equipment. Nothing exciting. Nothing that should have brought him anywhere near the most dangerous gathering in the galaxy. But the automated docking system had other ideas, and now he was stuck here until the traffic cleared. "Captain, I really think we should wait on the ship," Ji-woo said through his comm device. She was his engineer, and more importantly, she actually read the news. "Do you know what the Apex tournament is?" Tae Yang walked through another corridor, passing aliens that towered over him. Some had scales, others had fur, and one looked like it was made of living crystal. "It's some kind of sports event, right? We'll just deliver the cargo and leave." "It's not sports, Captain. It's a battle tournament for the galaxy's most dangerous warrior races. They come here once a year to prove who is the strongest." He stopped walking. Through a large doorway ahead, he could see an enormous arena. Thousands of aliens filled the seats, all of them large and covered in weapons or natural armor. In the center of the arena floor, two massive creatures were circling each other. One looked like a bear made of stone. The other resembled a giant mantis with blades for arms. "That's bigger than I expected," Tae Yang admitted. Before Ji-woo could respond, the crowd erupted in cheers. The stone bear had knocked the mantis creature across the arena floor. Victory was declared, and the bear thing roared so loud that Tae Yang felt it in his chest. He should have turned around. He should have gone back to his ship. But Tae Yang had always been too curious for his own good. He stepped through the doorway to get a better look. The arena was incredible. Holographic displays showed statistics and replays of the fight. Vendors sold food that smelled both amazing and terrifying. The energy in the air was electric, dangerous, and exciting all at once. Tae Yang moved along the outer wall, trying to stay out of the way. "You there, small one." Tae Yang froze. A massive reptilian creature was pointing at him. The alien stood at least 3 meters tall, covered in dark green scales and battle scars. Its yellow eyes locked onto him like a predator spotting prey. "Me?" Tae Yang asked, which was stupid because there was nobody else around. The reptilian warrior laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. "What are you supposed to be?" "You look like a baby Threxian, but the wrong color." Other aliens were starting to notice him now. The crowd near the warrior turned to look. Tae Yang suddenly felt very, very small. "I'm human," he said, trying to sound confident. "I'm just passing through. Cargo delivery." "Human?" The warrior looked at the others near him. "Anyone heard of humans?" They all shook their heads or made negative sounds. One alien with 4 arms pulled out a datapad and searched. "Nothing in the warrior registry. Must be a prey species," the crowd laughed. Tae Yang felt his face getting hot. He wasn't a warrior, that was true, but being called prey wasn't pleasant. The large reptilian stepped closer. "I am Karvesh, champion of the Draxian people, winner of 43 arena battles. You stumbled into the Apex tournament, little human. This is where the galaxy's greatest predators prove their strength." "That's great," Tae Yang said, backing up slightly. "Congratulations on your wins. I'll just be going now." Karvesh's tail whipped around, blocking his path. "Not yet. You interrupted our celebration. In our culture, that demands a price. You must face me in the arena." "What?" "No, I'm not a fighter. I sell things. Medical equipment. Food processors. Very boring stuff." "Then you'll lose very quickly," Karvesh said. "Don't worry. I'll make it fast, probably." The crowd was cheering now, excited by the prospect of an unexpected match. Tae Yang looked around desperately for an exit, but more aliens had gathered, forming a wall of scaled, furred, and armored bodies. His comm device crackled. "Captain, what's happening?" "Your heart rate just spiked." Ji-woo's voice was worried. "I'm about to get killed in an arena fight," Tae Yang said calmly. "You're what?" Before he could explain, Karvesh grabbed him by the arm. The warrior's grip wasn't painful, but it was completely unbreakable. Tae Yang was lifted off his feet and carried toward the arena floor like a child holding a toy. The crowd roared with approval. Holographic displays updated to show the match. Karvesh the Breaker versus Tae Yang the Unknown. Betting odds appeared. They were not in Tae Yang's favor. Karvesh dropped him in the center of the arena. The floor was made of some kind of hard-packed sand. Stains on the ground suggested previous fighters had not left uninjured. "Captain, I'm coming down there right now," Jiwoo shouted through the comm. "No, stay on the ship. Get Hyunwoo and Soo-jin ready. I might need medical attention soon. This is insane," Tae-yang had to agree. He looked up at Karvesh, who was now flexing and showing off for the crowd. The warrior's muscles rippled under his scales. His claws looked sharp enough to cut metal. His teeth were like daggers. An announcer's voice boomed through the arena, speaking in the common galactic language. "An unexpected challenge. Karvesh the Breaker versus an unknown species called human. Let us see if this small creature has any fight in him." The crowd's excitement was building. Tae-yang could see thousands of alien faces, all eager to watch him get destroyed. Some were taking pictures. Others were recording video. This was going to be embarrassing in addition to painful. Karvesh cracked his knuckles. Each pop sounded like a small explosion. "I'll try not to break too many of your bones, human. We don't know how fragile your species is. Very fragile," Tae-yang assured him. "Extremely breakable. Maybe we could just skip this? Where's the honor in that?" A countdown appeared on the holographic displays. 10 seconds until the match began. Tae-yang's mind raced. He couldn't fight this creature. Karvesh was trained, experienced, and built like a living tank. Tae-yang's greatest physical achievement was carrying 3 cargo boxes at once. 5 seconds. The crowd was chanting now, a rhythmic sound that shook the arena. 3 seconds. Tae-yang took a deep breath. Maybe if he moved fast enough, he could dodge until Jiwoo arrived. Or maybe he could talk his way out. Or maybe... The buzzer sounded. Karvesh roared and charged forward, moving with surprising speed for his size. Tae-yang's instincts kicked in. He didn't think. He just moved. He dove to the side, rolling across the sand. Karvesh's claws whistled through the air where his head had been a moment before. The crowd gasped, surprised that the human had dodged. "Stand still," Karvesh growled. "That seems like a bad idea." Tae-yang shouted back. The warrior charged again. Tae-yang scrambled backward, his heart pounding. This was bad. This was very, very bad. Then a voice rang out across the arena, sharp and commanding. "Stop this fight immediately." Everyone turned. Standing at the arena entrance was Jiwoo, and she did not look happy. Jiwoo marched onto the arena floor like she owned the place. Behind her came Hyunwoo, carrying his datapad and looking nervous, and Soo-jin with her medical kit. The crowd murmured in confusion. More humans? How many of these strange creatures were there? Karvesh held up a clawed hand, stopping his attack. "Who dares interrupt an arena challenge?" "I do," Jiwoo said flatly. She walked right up to the massive warrior without any fear. "You are about to fight my captain, and I'm here to tell you why that's a terrible idea." The crowd laughed. One small human woman telling the champion what to do. It was absurd. Even Tae-yang looked surprised. He knew Jiwoo was brave, but this was something else. Karvesh leaned down to look at her more closely. "Little female, your captain accepted the challenge. His honor demands he fight. He didn't accept anything. You grabbed him and dragged him here." Jiwoo crossed her arms. "And humans don't fight for honor or sport. We fight for survival." "There's a difference," an insectoid alien with multiple eyes called out from the crowd. "All warrior species fight for honor. It proves strength." Hyunwoo stepped forward, adjusting his glasses nervously. "Actually, that's not quite accurate. Humans evolved on a planet called Earth. The conditions there were different from most worlds. Different how?" asked a crystalline being that sparkled in the arena lights. Hyunwoo pulled up holographic data from his pad. An image of Earth appeared, rotating slowly. Earth is what we classify as a Class 12 death world. Extreme gravity compared to most habitable planets. Aggressive megafauna. Persistent predators. Rapid weather changes. Geological instability. Limited safe food sources. The crowd was quiet now, listening. Karvesh straightened up, his eyes on the planet image. "Humans didn't fight for sport," Hyunwoo continued. "They fought to survive every single day. On Earth, if you lost a fight, you died. If you couldn't run fast enough, you died. If you couldn't think quickly, you died. Everything on that planet was trying to kill everything else." A four-armed warrior scoffed. "Our worlds were harsh, too. The Vryn evolved on a planet with acid rain and volcanic eruptions. The Draxians fought giant sandworms and survived desert heat." Karvesh added proudly. Hyunwoo nodded politely. "Those are impressive adaptations. But may I ask, what class death world are your species from?" The four-armed Vryn checked his datapad. "Class 6 for my people. Class 5 for Draxians," Karvesh admitted. Earth is Class 12, Hyunwoo repeated gently. For comparison, only 3 known species in the galaxy evolved on Class 10 or higher worlds. Humans are the only ones from a Class 12. The arena had gone very quiet. Aliens were checking their data pads, comparing numbers. Uncomfortable looks were being exchanged. Sujin stepped forward with her medical scanner. I'm a medic. Would any of you mind if I did a quick health scan? Just basic readings. It's completely harmless. Karvesh looked suspicious but waved a hand. Fine, scan away. Sujin ran her scanner over the large warrior, then moved to several other aliens in the front row. Her expression grew more concerned with each reading. She checked her device twice, making sure the numbers were correct. What is it? Taiyang asked. Their stress hormones are elevated just from normal arena activity, Sujin said slowly. Their bone density is impressive by general standards, but it's only about 60% of human baseline. Their neural response time is slower. Their cardiovascular recovery rate is... She trailed off, looking uncomfortable. Is what? Jiwoo demanded. Much slower than humans. After that brief fight, Karvesh's heart rate is still elevated. A human would have recovered by now, Karvesh growled. That means nothing. We are warriors. We have fought thousands of battles. Against each other, Hyunwoo said quietly. Against species from similar classification worlds. You've never fought something that evolved where losing meant extinction every single day. An elderly alien pushed through the crowd. He was smaller than the warriors, with gray skin and tired eyes. I am Elder Vryn, a historian. I must verify this information. He pulled out an ancient data device and scrolled through files. His expression grew darker as he read. Finally, he looked up at the assembled warriors. The human speaks truth, Elder Vryn said. I have access to old classification records. Earth is indeed listed as Class 12. It notes that the planet should be avoided for colonization due to extreme danger levels. The wildlife alone includes creatures that hunt in coordinated packs, ambush predators with venom that kills in seconds, and animals that can run for hours without stopping. We fought animals too, shouted a warrior. Did your animals hunt other apex predators for food? Sujin asked calmly. Because on Earth, humans hunted everything. Bears, big cats, wolves, even other humans. The most dangerous thing on Earth wasn't the environment. It was other humans. That statement hung in the air like a weight. The warrior shifted uncomfortably. Taiyang, still standing in the arena, finally spoke up. Look, we didn't come here to challenge anyone. We don't want to fight, honestly. We left Earth hoping to find places where we didn't have to fight anymore. You're afraid to fight, Karvesh accused, but his voice lacked confidence now. No, Jiwoo said firmly. We're tired of fighting. There's a difference. On Earth, humans fought wars for thousands of years. We built weapons that could destroy entire cities. We created strategies to defeat enemies we couldn't overpower. We learned to work together because alone we died. Hyunwoo brought up more data. Human history includes over 15,000 recorded wars. We fought in forests, deserts, oceans, mountains, and ice fields. We fought in extreme heat and extreme cold. We fought when we were injured, sick, or starving. Because on Earth, surrender usually meant death. The crystalline warrior spoke up, his voice uncertain. But we are trained. We practice combat from youth. So did humans, Sujin said. Every human child learns to track moving objects with their eyes before they can walk. It's an instinct. We're built to follow prey or watch for predators. Our ancestors needed that skill to survive. She pulled up a comparison chart. Human reaction time averages 0.25 seconds. Most galactic species average 0.4 to 0.6 seconds. That's because on Earth, a fraction of a second meant the difference between eating and being eaten. Elder Vryn was reading more files, his expression growing more concerned. There's a note here from a xenobiologist who studied Earth remotely. He wrote that humans are persistence predators, and that they evolved to chase prey over long distances until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. Is this accurate? Yes, Hyunwoo confirmed. Humans can run for hours. We sweat to cool down, which most species can't do efficiently. We have tendons in our legs that store energy like springs. We can track wounded animals for days if needed. Karvesh sat down on the arena floor with a heavy thud. He looked at his claws, his muscles, his scales. But we are strong. We have natural weapons. We have armor. Jiwoo's expression softened. You're specialized. You evolved to be excellent warriors in your environment. But humans are generalists. We evolved to handle anything. We don't have claws, so we made knives. We don't have armor, so we learned to dodge and move. We don't have venom, so we created medicine and poisons. We adapted to everything Earth threw at us. Taeyang walked over to Karvesh. The warrior was still sitting, looking confused and defeated. You're not weak, Taeyang said gently. You're just different. Your species evolved on a world that was dangerous but survivable. Ours evolved on a world that tried to kill us in every way possible. A Vryn warrior clicked his mandibles nervously. So what does this mean? That humans are the true apex predators? No, Taeyang said firmly. It means we're survivors. There's a difference. Predators hunt, survivors adapt. We don't want to hunt you. We want to trade with you, learn from you, and exist peacefully with you. Elder Vryn closed his data device. The council should be informed of this. The presence of a Class 12 species changes many assumptions about galactic power structures. We don't want power, Jiwoo insisted. We just want to deliver our cargo and leave. But Karvesh was shaking his head slowly. No, this changes everything. We thought we were the strongest. We built our culture on being apex warriors. If humans are above us. He looked at Taeyang with something like fear in his eyes. What does that make us? The news spread through Helix 9 station like wildfire. Within hours, every warrior at the tournament knew about the humans and their impossible homeworld. Some refused to believe it. Others demanded proof. A group of warriors, led by Karvesh, came to the Morning Star with a proposal. We want to test this claim, Karvesh said, standing in the ship's cargo bay. Behind him were a dozen other warriors representing different species. Set up challenges. Show us what makes humans so special. Taeyang looked at Jiwoo, who shrugged. It might be better than them challenging us to more fights. That's how they ended up with Bo-Ra, a survival instructor who happened to be on the station visiting family. She was a short woman with calloused hands and a no-nonsense attitude. When she heard what the warriors wanted, she smiled in a way that made Taeyang nervous. You want to see human survival skills? Bo-Ra asked the assembled aliens. Fine, but don't complain when it gets hard. She set up a holographic environment in one of the station's large simulation rooms. The program loaded, showing a dense forest at night. Earth trees stretched upward, their leaves blocking most of the moonlight. Sounds echoed through the darkness, insects chirping, something howling in the distance, wind rustling branches. This is a basic Earth forest, Bo-Ra explained. Nothing special. No extreme weather. No major predators nearby, just a normal night. Your challenge is simple. Navigate through the forest and reach the marker point 2 kilometers away. The warriors looked at each other. 2 kilometers? That was easy. Karvesh stepped forward first. I'll go. He entered the simulation and immediately stumbled. The ground was uneven, covered in roots and fallen leaves. In the darkness, he couldn't see clearly. His eyes were adapted for his homeworld's brighter sun and different light spectrum. Use your other senses, Bo-Ra called out. Karvesh tried. But the forest was overwhelming. Too many sounds, too many smells. He couldn't filter what was important from what wasn't. On his homeworld, the desert was open and clear. This dense environment confused him. After 10 minutes, he had moved only 100 meters. His breathing was heavy. The atmosphere was strange to him, too. Earth's oxygen-nitrogen mix at this pressure was slightly uncomfortable, like breathing through a thin cloth. Bo-Ra entered the simulation behind him. She moved through the forest easily, stepping over roots without looking down, ducking under branches automatically. She wasn't using a light. Her eyes had adjusted to the darkness naturally. How are you doing that? Karvesh asked, frustrated. Humans evolved in environments like this, Bo-Ra said. Our eyes adapt to darkness. Our brains filter sounds to identify threats. Our feet feel the ground and adjust without us thinking about it. This is normal for us. She walked past him and reached the marker point in 15 minutes. Karvesh took an hour and arrived exhausted. The other warriors tried next. The four-armed Vryn got tangled in branches. The crystalline being's heavy body kept sinking into soft ground. An insectoid warrior did better, but complained that the humidity was affecting his breathing. Meanwhile, Jin Ho, a human athlete visiting the station, jogged through the simulation for fun. He completed the course in 12 minutes while carrying a pack of supplies. The second test was worse for the warriors. Bo-Ra called it an endurance challenge. On Earth, humans hunted by chasing prey until it collapsed, she explained. We'll do a simple version. Run at a comfortable pace. Keep running until you need to stop. No sprinting, just steady movement. Jin Ho started jogging on a track. His pace was moderate, nothing impressive. About 8 kilometers per hour, the kind of speed a human could maintain for a long time. Karvesh and the others started running to keep up. At first it seemed easy, but Jinho didn't stop. He kept going, his breathing steady, his form efficient. Kilometers passed. After 30 minutes, the first warriors started slowing down. Their bodies were built for short bursts of power, not endurance. Their muscles were different, designed for strength over stamina. After an hour, most had stopped completely. They sat on the ground, gasping for air, their bodies overheated and exhausted. Jinho was still running. He wasn't even sweating much. His body's cooling system worked efficiently, preventing overheating. His tendons stored and released energy with each step, making the movement less tiring. "How long can you keep going?" asked a warrior who had collapsed. "Depends on my condition," Jinho said, barely breathing hard. "Maybe 3 or 4 hours at this pace. Longer if I slow down. I once ran a marathon in about 4 hours. That's 42 kilometers. The warriors looked at him like he was insane. That kind of distance was impossible for them. Their bodies would shut down long before then. Karvesh was sitting on the ground, his pride wounded worse than his body. "What's the point of this endurance? In real combat, fights are quick. On Earth, persistence hunting meant following wounded prey for days sometimes," Bora said. "Humans evolved to keep going when every instinct says to stop. It's how we survived." The third test was the most disturbing for the warriors. Sujin, the medic, set it up with obvious reluctance. "I need to show you something about human healing," she said. "It's not pleasant, but it's important." She took a small blade and made a shallow cut on her own arm. The warriors gasped. Self-harm was taboo in most of their cultures. Blood welled up from the cut. Sujin calmly cleaned it and applied a simple bandage. Human blood clots quickly to prevent death from bleeding. "Our bodies evolved rapid healing because Earth injured us constantly. Thorns, sharp rocks, animal bites, everything." She held up a scanner showing her cellular activity. "My body is already sending repair cells to the wound. In a few days, this will be mostly healed. In a week or 2, you'll barely see a scar." Karvesh held up his arm, showing a scar from months ago. "This wound took 6 weeks to heal. Traxian bodies heal slowly because we have armored skin. Injuries are rare, so fast healing wasn't needed." Sujin nodded sympathetically. "Exactly. Your evolution prioritized defense. Ours prioritized recovery. Different solutions to different problems." She showed more data comparing healing rates, injury recovery, and pain tolerance across species. Humans consistently recovered faster from similar injuries. Their bodies were built to take damage and keep functioning. "There's something else," Sujin added quietly. "Human pain tolerance is higher than most species. Not because we're tougher, but because Earth forced us to keep moving even when injured. A wounded human can still fight, run, or work. It's a survival mechanism." One warrior, a sleek feline-like alien, spoke up. "This is disturbing. Your species evolved in a nightmare." "Yes," Sujin agreed simply. "That's accurate. Commander Threxus, a military observer from the Galactic Council, had been watching all the tests. He was a tall, thin being with gray skin and large black eyes. He looked worried. "I need to report this to the Council," he said. "The implications are serious." "Why?" Taeyang asked. "We're just showing them survival skills." "You're showing them military capabilities," Threxus corrected. "Endurance means your soldiers can march farther and fight longer. Night vision means you can operate when others can't. Fast healing means your wounded return to service quickly. Pain tolerance means injuries don't stop you. And the persistence hunting," he paused. "That's psychological warfare. An enemy that never stops chasing you, that you can't outlast. That's nightmare fuel." The warriors were quiet, absorbing this. They had come to prove humans weren't special. Instead, they were realizing that humans were adapted for warfare in ways they had never considered. Jinho, who had been quiet during this discussion, finally spoke. "Can I say something? We don't want to be warriors. Most humans just want to live peacefully. Yes, we can do all these things, but that doesn't mean we want to. Earth taught us to survive, but it also taught us how precious peace is." "That may be true," Commander Threxus said, "but the galaxy won't see it that way. They'll see a species that can outfight, outrun, and outlast everyone else. That's threatening." Karvesh stood up, his massive body still tired from the endurance test. "He's right. My people built our identity on being strong, learning that humans are stronger without even trying. It's hard to accept." Bora stepped forward. "You're not weaker. You're just different. Your strength is in your natural weapons and armor. Ours is in adaptation and endurance. Neither is better. They're just different solutions. But as she spoke, Tae-yang could see doubt in the warriors' eyes. Their entire culture was built on being apex predators. Learning they weren't the apex of anything was destroying something fundamental in their worldview. And somewhere in the back of his mind, Tae-yang worried about what would come next. The warriors refused to leave. What started as simple tests had become something else. They needed to understand. How could humans be so capable without even trying? The answer, as it turned out, was more disturbing than the physical differences. Yuna arrived on the station 3 days after the tests began. She was a psychologist who specialized in trauma and stress management. Tae-yang had called her because the warriors were showing signs of distress. They weren't sleeping well. Their eating patterns had changed, and some were becoming aggressive. They're having an identity crisis, Yuna explained to Tae-yang privately. Their entire self-image is built on being the strongest. You've shattered that image, and they don't know how to process it. We didn't mean to, Tae-yang said helplessly. They asked for the tests. I know, but truth doesn't care about intentions. Yuna looked at the warriors gathered in the station's meeting room. They looked exhausted and confused. Let me talk to them. She entered the room calmly. Karvesh and about 20 other warriors watched her with wary eyes. Another human, another revelation they probably didn't want to hear. I understand you want to know about human combat capabilities, Yuna said, sitting down casually, but you're asking the wrong questions. You're focused on physical abilities. The real difference is up here. She tapped her temple. Psychology? Scoffed a reptilian warrior. Mind games are for the weak. Really? Yuna pulled up her datapad. Let me show you something. This is human military history. Images appeared on the screen. Battles, weapons, strategies. The warriors leaned forward, interested despite themselves. Humans have been fighting wars for at least 10,000 years, Yuna said. We have records of thousands of conflicts. We developed complex strategies, tactics, and psychological warfare techniques. Dongmin, a historian who had come with Yuna, took over. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too much. Human warfare evolved in stages. First we fought with clubs and rocks, then spears and arrows, then swords and armor, then guns and explosives, then nuclear weapons. What are nuclear weapons? Asked an insectoid warrior. Dongmin's expression darkened. Bombs that can destroy entire cities in seconds. Weapons that leave the land poisoned for generations. We built thousands of them. We pointed them at each other, ready to destroy our whole species if war started. The room went silent. That kind of destructive capability was beyond most species' comprehension. Why would you build such things? Karvesh asked quietly. Because our enemies might build them first, Dongmin said simply. Human warfare had a simple rule. Prepare for the worst possible outcome. If your enemy might develop a weapon, you develop it first. If they might attack, you attack first. If they might show no mercy, you show none. Yuna brought up more images. But weapons are only part of war. Humans developed psychological tactics too. We used fear, deception, and manipulation. We learned to break enemy morale without fighting. We created propaganda to turn populations against their leaders. We used torture, hostages, and threats. A crystalline warrior shifted uncomfortably. That sounds dishonorable. It was, Dongmin agreed. Many of these tactics are considered war crimes now. Humans created laws to stop the worst behaviors. But the fact remains, we learned to fight in every way possible because our opponents were other humans. The most dangerous thing we ever faced was ourselves. Yuna pulled up a scenario on the screen. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're a warrior defending a position. The enemy is approaching. What do? Fight them, Karvesh said immediately. Defend the position with honor. Now imagine the enemy isn't attacking. They're just waiting outside your range. Day after day they sit there. You can't sleep properly because they might attack. Your supplies run low. Your warriors get tired and stressed. Still the enemy waits. What do? The warriors looked uncertain. Eventually we would have to attack or retreat. Exactly, Yuna said. The enemy wins without fighting. That's psychological warfare. Humans learned that patience could be a weapon. That fear and uncertainty could defeat an enemy better than swords. She pulled up another scenario. Or imagine this. The enemy captures some of your warriors. They send a message saying they'll release them if you surrender. Do you surrender to save your people? No, said a four-armed Vryn. Warriors accept death. Surrender is shameful. But what if they're not warriors? What if they're civilians? Children, your families? Yuna's voice was soft but relentless. What if the enemy shows you images of your loved ones suffering? Do you still refuse? The Vryn warrior's mandibles clicked nervously. He didn't answer. Humans learn to exploit emotions, Yuna said. Love, fear, anger, pride. We learned which buttons to push to make enemies make mistakes. We studied how different species think and use that knowledge against them. Dongmin added more historical examples. Humans developed guerrilla warfare, small groups attacking and disappearing. Enemies never knew where we'd strike next. We poisoned water supplies. We destroyed crops. We used the environment as a weapon. We learned to win by making the enemy give up, not just by defeating them in battle. This is monstrous, whispered a warrior. Yes, Yuna agreed quietly. War is monstrous. But humans became very good at it because we had no choice. When you're fighting for survival, honor becomes less important than winning. She pulled up statistics. Human conflicts often lasted years or decades. Entire generations grew up knowing only war. We developed economies based on warfare. We created military training that started in childhood. We bred certain traits in our population, selecting for aggression and obedience. Karvesh stood up, agitated. But you're not like this now. You seem peaceful. Taeyang didn't want to fight. That's because we learned, Dongmin said. After thousands of years of war, humans finally understood that nobody wins in total war. We created international laws, peace treaties, and cooperation agreements. We decided that survival didn't have to mean constant conflict. Yuna stood and walked to the center of the room. Let me demonstrate something. I'm going to describe a situation, and I want you to tell me how you'd feel. Ready? The warriors nodded uncertainly. You're alone in a dark corridor. You hear footsteps behind you. But when you turn around, nobody's there. The footsteps continue. You walk faster. They walk faster. You run. They run. You hide. They stop. Silence. Then you hear breathing very close. What do you feel? Several warriors shifted uncomfortably. Fear, one admitted. Now imagine that continues for hours, days. You never see the enemy, but you know they're there. Watching. Waiting. How long before you break? A sleek feline warrior stood up abruptly. I need to leave. Why? Yuna asked gently. Because you're doing it right now. This conversation, you're demonstrating psychological warfare by describing it. You're making us uncomfortable on purpose. Yuna nodded. Yes, I'm showing you how humans think. We don't just learn techniques. We understand how minds work. We know that fear of the unknown is worse than fear of a visible enemy. We know that anticipation of pain is sometimes worse than pain itself. We know how to get inside someone's head. Dongmin pulled up final images. Human soldiers were trained to function under extreme stress. We created scenarios that broke recruits mentally, then taught them to rebuild themselves stronger. We learned to suppress natural fear responses. We conditioned soldiers to react automatically without thinking. Why? Demanded Karvesh. Why be so thorough? Because our enemies were just as thorough, Dongmin said simply. When fighting other humans, you're fighting beings that are just as intelligent, creative, and desperate as you are. The only way to survive was to be better at everything. Yuna pulled up a final chart. Here's what we've learned about your species over the past few days. Draxians respond poorly to prolonged stress. Vryn rely heavily on visual confirmation. Crystalline beings struggle with rapid environmental changes. These aren't weaknesses in normal situations, but in warfare against humans they become vulnerabilities. The room was dead silent. Every warrior was realizing the same thing. Humans didn't just survive a harsh planet. They survived fighting each other, the deadliest opponent possible. Ambassador Krell chose that moment to arrive. He was a dignified alien with blue skin and multiple eyes. He looked around the room, taking in the depressed warriors and calm humans. I've been informed of the situation, Krell said.
The Council is concerned.
Very concerned. The presence of a species with advanced psychological warfare capabilities changes the galactic security situation. We don't want to fight anyone, Taeyang insisted. That may be true, Krell said, but you could if you wanted to. And that possibility frightens a lot of people. Karvesh spoke up, his voice quiet. We thought we were apex predators. We thought strength meant physical power. But humans are predators of the mind. You don't just defeat bodies. You defeat spirits, Yuna's expression softened. That's not what we want to be known for. Yes, humans are capable of terrible things, but we're also capable of incredible cooperation, creativity, and compassion. We survive by fighting, but we thrive by working together. The Galactic Council chamber was massive, designed to hold representatives from hundreds of species. Today it was packed. Everyone wanted to hear what would be decided about the humans. Mincio sat in the designated speakers area, looking small compared to the grand architecture around her. She was a diplomat, trained to handle difficult negotiations, but this was beyond anything in her experience. She was here to defend humanity's right to exist peacefully in the galaxy, and half the species present were terrified of her. Tai Yang sat in the observation section with his crew. Jibu kept checking her datapad nervously. Hyunwoo was taking notes. Sujin looked calm, but her hands were clasped tightly together. Young-ho, Taeyang's second-in-command, whispered reassurances that nobody believed. The council leader, an ancient being that looked like floating crystals arranged in a vaguely humanoid shape, called the session to order. "We are here to discuss humanity," the leader said, its voice echoing through the chamber. "A species from a Class 12 death world with capabilities that exceed our apex warrior races. The question before us is simple. What do we do about them?" Angry murmurs filled the chamber. A reptilian delegate stood. "They're too dangerous. Their abilities in warfare are beyond anything we've faced. They should be quarantined to their home system." "That's discriminatory," shouted a peaceful species representative. "They haven't committed any crimes."
Not yet.
The reptilian countered. "But with their capabilities, when they decide to, it will be too late." Mincio stood up. The chamber quieted. Everyone wanted to hear what the human would say. "I understand your fears," Mincio began. Her voice was steady and clear. "You've learned things about humanity that are frightening. Our endurance, our psychological warfare capabilities, our history of violence. All of it is true. We won't deny what we are." She paused, looking around the chamber. "But you're only seeing part of the picture. Yes, humans evolved on a nightmare planet. Yes, we learned to fight in every way possible. But do you know what else we learned?" The chamber was silent, waiting. "We learned cooperation on a scale you might find hard to believe. On Earth, humans formed groups of hundreds, then thousands, then millions. We built cities with tens of millions of people living together. We created systems where strangers would help each other, where people would sacrifice for the good of others they'd never meet." Jae Sung, a scientist, stood to join her. He activated a holographic display. "Let me show you something. This is Earth's internet, a global network where billions of humans share information instantly. Any human can access almost all of humanity's collective knowledge. We built this not for war, but for connection." Images appeared showing human achievements: art, music, literature, science, medicine. "Humans are creative," Jae Sung continued. "We build not just weapons, but tools, entertainment, and beauty. We write stories, compose music, and create art. We explore not just to conquer, but to understand. We study the stars because we're curious, not because we want to control them." A four-armed delegate stood. "But your military history shows you're violent." "Yes," Mincio agreed, "we are. We're capable of terrible violence, but we're also capable of choosing not to be violent. That's the important part. We have the capability, but also the restraint." She pulled up historical data. Human history includes thousands of wars, true, but it also includes thousands of peace treaties, moments where enemies became allies, situations where we chose diplomacy over fighting. Our greatest leaders aren't always our generals. Often they're our peacemakers. Karvesh stood from where he sat with the other warrior races. He looked different now, less proud and more thoughtful. "May I speak?" The council leader nodded. "I've spent days with the humans," Karvesh said, testing them, challenging them, trying to understand them. "And I've realized something. We warrior races fight for honor, for status, for glory. Humans fight for survival. There's a huge difference." He walked to the center of the chamber. "When we fight, it's sport. It's cultural. It's how we prove ourselves. When humans fight, it's because everything else failed. They don't want to fight. They want to survive. And survival means cooperation, not endless conflict." An insectoid delegate clicked skeptically. "But their capabilities make them dangerous regardless of intent." Young-ho stood up from the observation area, drawing attention. "Can I say something?" "I'm not a diplomat or scientist. I'm just a crew member. But I've traveled with humans my whole life, and I've seen something you might have missed." The council leader gestured for him to continue. "Humans are scared too," Young-ho said simply. Captain Taeyang didn't want to fight Karvesh. He was terrified. Our medic Sujin hates hurting people. Our engineer Jiwoo just wants to fix things, not break them. We're not warriors. We're just people who survived a difficult planet and now want to live in peace. Minseo nodded gratefully. That's what I came here to say. Humans don't want conquest. We don't want to dominate. We left Earth hoping to find places where we didn't have to fight anymore. We're tired of fighting. Jae-sung brought up new data. I propose a new classification system. Instead of just measuring physical danger, we should measure adaptation capability. Draxians are excellent warriors in their environment. Vryn are exceptional in their conditions. Humans are generalists who can adapt to almost anything. None of these is superior. They're just different evolutionary solutions. What you call apex, Minseo said, depends on what you're measuring. If apex means strongest in direct combat, then yes, many warrior races excel. If apex means fastest, some species surpass humans. If apex means most intelligent in specific fields, others win. But if apex means surviving impossible odds and choosing cooperation over domination, then maybe humans qualify. Not because we're better, but because Earth forced us to be. A peaceful species representative stood. She was a small bird-like creature. I want to propose something. Instead of fearing humanity, why not learn from them? Their survival strategies, their cooperation methods, their psychological resilience, these could benefit us all. Karvesh nodded. I agree. My people have been warriors for generations. But watching humans, I see different strength. Not just physical power, but mental toughness, adaptation, working together. Maybe we've been measuring the wrong things. The council leader's crystals rearranged thoughtfully. What do you propose? An alliance, Karvesh said. Not for conquest, but for learning. Humans can teach us about survival and adaptation. We can teach them about galactic culture and history. Together we all become stronger. Minseo looked surprised. You want to work with us? I want to understand you, Karvesh corrected. Fear comes from ignorance. If we understand each other, maybe the fear goes away. Taeyang stood up. I like this idea. We never wanted to be feared. We just want to exist peacefully and trade with others. If working together helps everyone feel safer, we're willing. The council leader consulted with other council members. The chamber buzzed with conversation. Some delegates looked hopeful. Others still looked worried. But the anger was fading, replaced by curiosity. Finally, the council leader spoke. We will try this. The Apex tournament will be disbanded. In its place, we create the Survival Symposium, a gathering where species share adaptation strategies, survival techniques, and cooperation methods, not to compete but to learn. Cheers erupted from some sections. The warrior races looked uncertain but accepting. It wasn't the glory they were used to, but it was purpose. Over the next weeks, plans were made. Humans would teach endurance training, psychological resilience, and rapid adaptation. The warrior races would teach combat discipline, physical training, and cultural strength. Peaceful species would teach conflict resolution and social harmony. Taeyang finally got to deliver his cargo, 3 weeks late. But he didn't mind. Something more important had been delivered: understanding. He stood with Karvesh in the station's observation deck, looking at the stars. The massive warrior had become something like a friend, which was strange to consider. I still don't understand everything about humans, Karvesh admitted. You're complicated. We don't understand ourselves half the time, Taeyang said with a laugh. Earth made us survivors, but we're still figuring out what that means. Your Minseo said something that stuck with me, Karvesh said. She said true strength is choosing not to fight when you don't have to. On my world, that would be seen as weakness. But now I think maybe it's the opposite. It's hard, Taeyang said honestly. Sometimes the fighting instinct is still there. The fear, the aggression. Earth built that into us. But we're trying to be better than our instincts. Jiwoo joined them, carrying 3 drinks. She handed them out. To new friends and better understanding, they raised their drinks. Taeyang looked at his crew, now joined by alien warriors who were becoming partners instead of threats. The galaxy was going to be different now, not because humans conquered it, but because everyone chose to work together. You know what's funny? Jiwoo said. We spent all this time showing them our survival abilities. But the real test isn't surviving. It's living peacefully after you've survived. Karvesh's laugh rumbled through the deck. Then let's hope we all pass that test. Below them, the station continued its work. The Survival Symposium was being planned. Humans and aliens were sharing meals, stories, and knowledge.